Welcome one, welcome all to the brand new season of the Almeida Racing League, proudly supported by Podium One. We're changing up quite a few things this season. There's been a lot of experimentation going on over the last couple of seasons, and we have landed this time on the Spec Racer Ford for Season 5 of this brilliant league, brought to you by one of the best coaching services on the iRacing service, live here on the Pit Road Productions YouTube channel and also on Swellio Almeida's YouTube channel. It's me, Reese Gardner, and Morgan Smith is alongside me in the commentary box. Daniel Zippy Salmon is behind the scenes, pressing all the buttons and bringing you these live pictures. We're here at Montreal for the first round of the new season, Morgan, and I think we both know by now how much Zippy loves these Spec Racer Fords. This is basically paradise for him. He's going to love this. I think we're going to love it too.
What they call Princess Approved Reese. I am very excited to be here at the beginning of Almeida this season, catching race one and seeing where these guys all, kind of land in their Spec Racer Ford season and get a little bit of details for the upcoming races moving forward as well. It's going to be very exciting today to get started this season.
Absolutely it is. Speaking of details, we have a schedule to go through, which is going to take us to 11 different tracks over the next 11 weeks. We start at Montreal, of course, and go to Tsukuba and Sebring for the next couple of rounds. On October the 18th is our first endurance round of the season at Watkins Glen. Moving through to the other half of the season, Virginia International Raceway, Imola, Road America, Jerez, and Winton Motor Raceway to end off the season. I'm very happy to see Winton there. Incidentally, rounds 5 and 6 at Interlagos and the Chicago Street Course. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys tackle this wide variety of circuits. Me being Australian, I think I'm looking forward to Winton the most at the end of the season. It's going to be an absolute bull ring, and I think it's going to be one of those rounds that drivers love or hate. What about you, Morgan? Anything jump out to you here?
Yeah, I do think this is a very exciting schedule for this season, Reese. A mix of some small technical tracks like Tsukuba, Sebring, and Watkins Glen, bringing you into the larger tracks with higher speed. So I think there's a lot of variability. And as you said, people are going to be able to bring out different skills throughout the season. So it's going to be exciting as we kind of maneuver. I am also a fan of city street courses and walls. So that's going to be exciting as well for me later on.
Absolutely. It's going to be a ball at Chicago. The format for tonight's racing, or today's racing, depending on where you are on this little blue globe. 60 minutes of practice have just ended. We have 15 minutes of open qualifying, which is just started. And at the end of that, I will set the grid for the first of our heats. 2 heats of 15 minutes each. The second one has a randomized invert, which will be very interesting indeed. And then we go live for race 2 after a little warm-up. 20 minutes with the grid set by the results from Heat 2. There's no fast repairs available to the drivers, so if you get a big enough ding in your car, you will unfortunately have your race over. And it is fixed setup as well. Everyone is driving the exact same settings here on these brilliant Spec Racer Fords. A couple of years ago, I believe these cars were updated to the latest specs for the real-life Spec Racer Ford. Originally, when this car debuted on iRacing, it had a 5-speed manual gearbox with clutch and no pit speed limiter or anything like that. Nowadays, it has a 6-speed sequential transmission done through paddle shift, I believe, and a slightly more powerful engine, as well as upgraded electronics that allow you to just hit a button and have your speed limited in the pit lane. As you can see, Montreal is a very popular track for slipstreaming. There's drivers trying their best to get a little extra straight line speed here in qualifying. But, for those of you who are familiar with the Almeida Racing League in previous seasons, we've done open wheelers, we've done sports cars. We are back into sports cars, so to speak, Morgan. But these things are a little different. They're a bit of a lower level category in North America. Not very powerful machines, but they produce fantastic racing.
Yeah, I am especially excited for them on fixed setup as well. Kind of eliminating some of the troubleshooting for these drivers really allows them to focus on their racing and focusing on the other drivers around them. So With the fixed setup, the slipstream, as you said, at this track in Montreal is going to be very important. So I'm excited to see where they get in line and kind of utilize that slipstream and where they find their passing points here in Montreal.
Yeah, indeed. On board here with Meesters, who is one of the drivers that we have yet to find in this particular league, Rich Meesters, who, along with Kevin Adrian, I believe, is one of, and Ian Joyner as well, one of quite a few drivers who are quite familiar with the Spec Racer Ford. So we're looking forward to seeing how well they go in this upcoming season. A little bit deep for Rich as he makes his way into the next of the many chicanes that define this circuit. Interesting fact, Morgan, I don't know if you're aware, but when this track originally opened in the late 1970s, it had a couple more chicanes than it does now. So if you think it's tight and twisty here, well, imagine it 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah, you know, Reese, this track was not one I initially appreciated when I got on the service, but as I've raced more and more, I've taken a liking to it. These long straights and good brake zones and passing opportunities mixed with tight technical chicanes, it is a good track and lends towards some good racing.
Certainly does. Have a look at this here. The slipstream getting taken in by Rich Meesters, with the draft certainly being a deciding factor for lap time. Rich is not going to get a valid lap time in on this lap because he went off track a bit earlier on, but hopefully he'll be able to get a better one in before the end of the season. Oh, sorry, the end of the session. My apologies. I'm mixing up my my S words that end with un. For the moment, Edwin Rivera, returning driver from previous seasons, currently on provisional pole. Adam Mika just elevating himself to P2 in qualifying. Joyner in third, with Brandon Priest putting himself into fourth place just then with his first lap on the board. You'll notice also on the timing tower on the left side of your screen, there's gold and there's silver designations. There's a Pro and Pro-Am subdivision in the league this season. Premier and Club. That is the subclasses that are going to be going about their business here. Sort of championships within championships, Morgan. I think it really gives everyone something to fight for.
I do think so as well, Reese. Keeping the points battles closer for these racers definitely helps keep them invested as we go from week to week. It does look like they did get the sorting correct with a lot of the premier drivers, as you said, on top of the list currently in qualifying. So that is good to see. It is hard sometimes to be accurate, but I know these guys drive together a lot and they are known well by the community. So it's good to see them organized and in the right riding order there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's solid jobs, as it looks like it's purple sector from the number 60 machine of Gabriel Ardigo there, and he's got a PB in sector 2 as well, so let's see what he can do on his way to the line here. Can Gabriel, currently in 10th place, as he crosses the line, he will elevate himself up to P3. What a job there from Gabriel Ardigo. Looks like he's actually a club driver, considering his silver backing there on the overlays. So that is a solid lap there from Gabriel.
Yeah, it looks like he ended up P4. He may have towed the driver behind him, actually, it looked like, as they crossed the line at the same time here. Martin Visser with the about 151.3, it looks like.
Yeah, still no one's been able to quite touch the 1 minute 50.877 set by Edwin Rivera early on in the session. So there's plenty more to come, to be sure, from this. We do have our coaches in here as well, at least one of them. We have Kane Halliburton in our midst as well, who's certainly going to be looking for some big moves in the race, as tradition dictates in the Almeida Racing Academy. Whatever coaches are in a race session, we usually start at the very back of the grid and give the drivers, who are all students of the academy, a chance to race directly against the coaches and try and work on their defensive skills. Really awesome to have that. as something the drivers can work towards. Chloe Charpentier in a pink car, and looks like she is, as far as we're aware, the only woman in the field. Be interesting to see how she does. We haven't seen a time from her in qualifying yet.
I do appreciate the pink paint as well, Reese. I'm a big fan of the Iron Dames. I know that they've been winning some races lately in the real world, so it's good to see a pink car out there on the grid.
Absolutely. Well, see how the sectors go as Ian Joyner makes a big improvement up to second place, and Al Richmeisters finally gets a lap time in, and it's one heck of a lap time, up to P5 for the number 64. Very good indeed. And looks like he did that with a bit of slipstream off the car behind that is now behind him. So maybe it's time for him to return the favor and see what they can do to make further improvements. 2/3 of the session now done, only 5 minutes to go.
You know, for being in Spec Racer Ford races, these guys are putting in some absolute blistering times with a 150.876 from Edwin Rivera, like you said earlier in the session. But I'm actually a little bit surprised in the lap time, so it's good to see these Spec Racer Fords setting some blistering times. And I know they carry a lot of mid-corner speed. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, where these cars excel on the racetrack?
Yeah, well, I've driven plenty of Spec Racer Ford myself, especially on the newer physics, and I really enjoy them. Basically, the car has had the same characteristics from the beginning. They're just it's just got a little bit more of a stable rear end now. It's the kind of car that loves to turn. You know, the rear end is quite light. If you've ever driven the Skip Barber Formula 2000, for example, and you know how loose the rear end on that car can get, the Spec Racer Ford is very similar. So you need to focus hard on making sure you get the rear end rotated into the corners enough that you're able to carry a good deal of speed without losing all of the grip in the rear end. You have to play around with it a bit to try and find that limit. Oh my goodness. Looks like a big jump there. Martin Visser actually just improving there to P3 as Mako Marinovic gets into P5. He's been working it very nicely there. The car deals pretty well with any kind of racetrack, honestly, be it smooth, bumpy, whatever. The main thing you got to think about is that loose rear end. It can be very easy to lose the car if you don't know how to catch that.
They do look exciting to drive, and I know that the slipstream is also a major factor with these cars, as the smaller engine and the lower power comes into play there. What kind of opportunities do you see at Montreal for the slipstream in the past there, as we just saw one?
Well, Zippy, behind the scenes, is a huge fan of Spec Racer Ford, as we said, and he knows these cars inside out. He has told us, and I have experienced myself, they are incredibly strong in the slipstream. We've run F4s in the past in Almeida Racing Academy. And, well, Zippy telling us he's a former Spec Racer Ford Division winner, Division 6, but it counts. Yeah, the slipstream is incredibly strong, much like what we saw in Formula 4 when they raced at Road America. In fact, you were there for that, Morgan, if I recall, last season or so. Expect something similar in the Spec Racer Ford. They'll be focusing hard on the slipstream, but the problem with Montreal is that the last chicane here that we're about to see the 137 go through, not exactly a clear passing opportunity unless you can get right alongside when you hit the braking zone.
Yeah, the chicanes can be inviting for some passes, I know, especially in some of the faster cars, but hopefully these guys make good decisions all night long, Reese, and don't make any rash decisions and cause any major incidents for, themselves or other drivers.
Yeah, it's also crucial to use the curbs. I mean, we're riding on board here with Gabriel Adigo, who has improved to second place on the previous lap, and he is monstering these curbs. Ever since I started watching Formula One, Montreal was one of the first tracks that really jumped out to me as a circuit where you need to use the curbs in order to be fast. Now, the other side of that coin is the off-tracks and the slowdowns. If you're not familiar with iRacing, every time you go beyond the bounds of the racetrack, you get an off-track, and in qualifying, that will invalidate your lap time. If you go too far beyond the limits of the racetrack and gain an advantage, you will get a slowdown penalty. You'll have to clear the slowdown by lifting off the throttle until it says you can accelerate again. Montreal is notorious for having a few spots where the slowdowns are particularly brutal. The exits of the chicanes in particular, if you run too deep at one of them and you run across the track, you will have to give up some 4 to 5 seconds, I believe, of lap time in order to get yourself back on track.
I know iRacing does supply some good information about each track's off limits and their limits of the track bounds, but I do think the only real situation to really learn the track and figure out where to be and where to put your car is to do some practice throughout the week and really land some seat time at each track.
Well, seat time is king. And that has shown that the drivers that work themselves well in these Spec Racer Fords can get to the top. Here's your grid for race 1. Edwin Rivera on top with Gabriel Ardigo in the club class on the front row. That is insane. Maybe he'll have to get a class upgrade. Ian Joyner and Ilari Arnio from Finland will be your second row, with Martin Visser and Adam Mika rounding out your top 6. In 7th, we've got Majko Marinovic and Zdenek Hamak, with Brandon Priest and Rich Meesters rounding out your top 10. Andre Los and Brian Torres are your top 12. Then we move back to lucky 13th, Stephen Saunders of England, alongside Spain's Javier Sobrino. Kevin Adrian and Philip Falcon, 2 Canadians, on the 8th row, with James Conrad alongside Jacques Coetzee from South Africa. Chloe Charpentier and Philippe Masson will be on our 10th row of the grid. Rob Campbell and Mark Schmerder in 21st and 22nd. Then Carlton Howard and Jeremy Childers on row number 12. Yanis Theophanopoulos, returning from previous seasons, along with Mikhail Sabinyas. They'll start on row 13 with Zoltan Zomotor and Domenico Sayu on the 14th row. Top 30 rounded out by Adam Bray and Neil England. Then we have Jonathan Gutman and Kane Halliburton rounding out our field there. Peter Strifas, Mario Strelek, and Douglas Tom join Halliburton in not setting times in qualifying. Strelek, at the very least, is going to join Kane Halliburton at the back of this grid. We will have at least 33 cars taking to the track for this first round of the season. Morgan, look at that beautiful double line of Spec Racer Fords. That's I was about to say music to Zippy's ears, but you don't hear with your eyes, do you?
Well, I do think the grid has an absolute rainbow of colors as well, so it's good to see that they each driver driving for themselves out there, and we'll see what kind of decision making that lends towards on the track.
Yeah, a lot of decision-making to do on lap 1 at Montreal. I've commentated many a race here with a big field, and basically every single time there's some kind of incident in the first couple of corners. It's a difficult start to the lap, high-speed entry into turns 1 and 2, and you're basically just going from a sharp sweeper right into a hairpin. There's going to be a lot of trouble if someone gets slightly offline. But for the moment, get those tyres warmed up, weave yourself around, and allow yourself the opportunity to think about the lap to come through the final chicane, and then they just wait for the call of the green flag. If anyone needs to pit, they need to be careful, because as you can see, pit entry is at the exit of the final corner, and the braking point for it is far later than the braking point for the actual last turn. But here we go then. Edwin Rivera, waiting for the call of the green flag, going to lead us away for the first race of the 5th season of the Almeida Racing League. And away he goes, catches them all by surprise, at least catches the number 60 of Gabriel Ardigo by surprise. surprise. Into turn 1 they come for the first time, and it's a clear run into the first turn for Rivera. Ardigo follows with Ian Joyner in third and Martin Visser in fourth. Already moves looking to happen there. Adam Mika trying to keep Michael Marinovic behind him, as looks like everyone's given each other a good amount of space there through the opening turns. No drama just yet, but there's plenty more corners on the first lap to come.
Looks like a great start from everyone, Reese. Everyone settling in very well, getting in line and hoping to warm up those tires and get competitive here, trying to find their spot in slipstream. Looks like we are still 2-3 wide here later in the pack.
Yeah, still very intense here. Yanis Theophanopoulos has a front row seat here to the battle between Carlton Howard and Chloe Charpentier. And Charpentier gets the exit. Someone's slow there. That's Brandon Priest. I think had an issue on the exit of the chicane there. He's going to go falling down the order, and it looks like he has some damage to the front end as well, so there's been contact somewhere. We might just have to find it. Yeah, the front end is looking very warped for that number 30.
With no fast repair as well, Reese, this is going to have a significant effect on his race, so we'll see how long the pit repair cost is for that car.
Oh, Rich Meesters is around at the hairpin, and he's going to go dropping like a stone down the order there. The Cool Camel Racing number 64 is all the way at the back now. Something going incredibly wrong for him at the hairpin. What on earth happened? Jacques Coetzee had a front row view to it, apparently. No, Meesters had already spun around there, and Jacques, it looks like, just avoiding him. So, yeah, I'm not exactly sure what happened to Rich Meesters there, but he was on course for potentially a podium and unable to get it done as the 26 is around 2 of Mikhail Sabiniaz there briefly on live pictures. We'll get a replay of that, I'm sure, right after we see this. What happened to Rich Meesters? Contact with car number 64 on the way into that, and yeah, looks like trying to make the move around the outside, and the driver on the inside wasn't having much of it. Slight bit of contact in the braking zone. It only goes one way. This is what happened to Sabiniaz. So it looks like Charpentier that he was trying to get by and just couldn't turn in for the last corner and then gets hit from behind.
Looks like a couple of them had trouble in the brake zone there, Reese. Unfortunate series of events for those drivers. Whoa, more incidents.
Good Lord. So that was the first problem for Rich Meesters. Actually, no, that's live. That's Domenico Sayu, who's been turned around in the midst of all of that. Well, lap 1 was pretty clean for the most part. We'll see what happened to Domenico here. Meesters trying to get up the inside of him, and oh, yeah, we just caught that before they disappeared behind the trees. It's very easy to turn someone around there.
With all the chaos on track, Reese, we have some of these drivers that started in the middle of the pack to the rear having some good spots gained so far. Yanis with 11 spots gained, just past Jacques Coetzee. Looks like Kane Halliburton in the back is up 10 spots. Adam D. Bray ahead of him up 8 spots as well. So a lot of these drivers finding some good positions gained as chaos ensues.
Yeah, Gabriel Ardigo dropping down, and he now finds himself right in the middle of this hard fight with Martin Visser and Adam Mika finding their way past him. On board with Visser, he gets a fantastic exit from the final corner. Edwin Rivera and Ian Joyner have absolutely rocketed away from all these guys who can't seem to get out of each other's hair. Don't make contact in the braking zone. Be very careful on your way through. Move done for Martin Visser. And now we'll see Gabriel Ardigo try to take advantage of that pass. Runs all the way out to the exit curb there. And Adam Mika will be his next target to get into 4th place.
With a pack of drivers that are all as highly skilled as these guys, Reese, I do think it's going to be a lot of changing of positions here in the battle for P3 as they exchange, first position in this line of drivers and give slipstream to the cars behind them, turn after turn as the guys take the positions back.
Yeah, well, Visser now is staring down the barrel of a 3.5-second gap to Ian Joyner and Edwin Rivera. There's no chance of getting the slipstream from that far back. Jumping on the brakes, you see these cars have a single brake light just behind the driver's head. So that's your clue for when they jump on the stop pedal. these guys are going to have to work together if they want any chance of trying to take this win, because Rivera and Joyner, I think, are pretty comfortable lapping as they are up the front, almost a move to the inside there from Gabriel Ardigo, but nothing doing for the moment. Very wide exit to that hairpin. The earlier you get on the power, the better.
I know in some other class cars, Reese, the lead driver of a line of cars also benefits from the slipstream and, you know, gains some extra speed as well. Is that true for the Spec Racer Fords as well? Do they receive a little push from the rear?
I believe they can. They've got plenty of body work to work with. Bump drafting can work. Up the inside, Martin Visa and Adam Mika has to give way to him and loses everything on the exit. Now, the 23 of Zdenek Hamak joins the party, and they are 3 wide. Almost 4 wide, confirmed, 4 wide, on the way into turn 1, all the way on the inside is Ilariano, and he's not able to get the job done on Gabriel Ardigo, 2x2 through turn 2, and Zdenek Hamak tries to find his way past Adam Mika. The door opens through the middle and then briefly closes. Man, I'm feeling very stressed out looking at all of this. This could be a coming together. Has to jump on the brakes, does Hamak, and that's going to bring Marinovic and Torres right into the fold too.
Ardigo did an absolutely great job holding his line through those S-curves and managed to keep his position. He was in trouble there, possibly losing up to 2 spots. So well done by Ardigo to stay in line and hold his line too wide and you know, find a good exit.
Yeah, very good indeed. Well, Ilari Arnio has fallen back to the back of the fight there. Martin Visa now in 6th place. And it looks like he's really dropped hard here, and we're about to see why. Visa was working all right, but I think, yeah, he lost the rear end. That's very easy to do in the Spec Racer Ford, and then he got contact from, I believe, Ardigo as he came through there.
It's going to be a short race relative to the real world, but I do believe there's going to be a lot of paint missing on bumpers after this one. So these guys looking like proper racers out here today, really pushing the limits and trying to find their space around other drivers here in race 1 to get organized for the season.
Yeah, Ardigo, he's already carrying a bit of damage to his bodywork on the left-hand side, but he'll try his best to defend. My God, that is a massive curb hit from Adam Mika. He's turned around, and no one has anywhere to go. Bodywork flying everywhere. We got 4 cars stopped by the side of the track on the exit of the final corner. Looks like Yanis Theophanopoulos is one of them. Mika has already escaped back to pit lane. Beko Marinovic has lost his front bodywork. That was chaos, and that is exactly why you need to respect the curbs at Montreal.
Looks like he did, unfortunately, either miss his brake zone or you know, the front end failed to get grip, but... Ooh.
Zomoto had a separate incident on the way into the corner. I think he would have seen a little trace of what was going on ahead, but man, yeah, the anti-cut construction at the last chicane here. It's all well and good in touring cars, but Adam Mika literally went airborne there, and the drivers that came through had nowhere to go. Oh man, I mean, look, it's the only reason I laugh is because it looks so ridiculous, but you got to feel for these drivers. They all put a lot of effort into preparing for this race, and to have that first race come to an end like that, it'd be heartbreaking for them.
Absolutely. I do think with no fast repair, that will be the end of some of these guys' race. Not everyone wants to, you know, wait for repairs and come out lap down and continue racing and possibly even impact some of the lead lap drivers' races. So I do think we'll see maybe a couple of retirees and a couple new spectators for the race.
Yeah, it looks like Mika, Marinovic, and Torres at least are out. Brandon Priest, who we saw dropping down on lap 1, has made it back out onto the racetrack after 2 minutes spent in the pits. We haven't seen Domenico Sayu emerge from pit lane yet either. So it's Edwin Rivera and Ian Joyner who continue up the front of the field here. Andre Los, meanwhile, is... making his way through the final chicane here with a bit of damage to the front bodywork. That's Arnio, I think, that has spun out of the final corner. And he is yet another driver who's going to fall down to the very back. It's all benefited our coach, Kane Halliburton, who is now up to 10th.
It looks like Kane is up 22 spots total so far, Reese. So making his way through the grid. He does have a little bit of gap here with no slipstream, so it could be a while till we see another pass, but with the amount of incidents on track, you never know. Seems to be just driving safe and capitalizing on the chaos.
Yeah, Chloe Charpentier has also gained a fantastic amount of positions from 19th up to 9th, and looking at a potential 7th place here involved with Javier Sobrino and Andre Los just up ahead of her. So, yeah, there's a lot of big potential for huge points and a bit of a head start for the championship season. There is a Drivers' Championship, but no Teams' Championship this season. So all the drivers have to worry about is looking after their own points totals. Andre Los has got some pretty heavy damage in that number 35. You can see that he has completely lost touch with Javier Sobrino in just the time I've been talking, Morgan. SRF, very sensitive to damage, and straight line speed can really suffer. So Charpentier should get the job done easy here.
Yeah, I did see the glimpse of damage on Andre Los ahead of Chloe there, so I do expect a pass coming out of the number 7 car very soon here. I think she's hoping to stay connected with the 21 ahead of Andre Los, so hopefully she can get that done in the next few turns here.
Meanwhile, the leaders are together. Ian Joyner and Edwin Rivera just traded spots, and Rivera is going back up the inside of Ian Joyner at turn 1 here, or at least attempting to. Joyner carries the momentum round the outside, which becomes the inside for turn 2, and he keeps the lead. They've got a battle. They've got a gap now of nearly 9 seconds to the next car, so they're free to fight with less than 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, these guys seem to be in a class of their own this evening, putting on an absolute clinic. I think there'll be some people watching the replays and checking out some of these guys' laps to hopefully get some learning points for the evening.
Yeah, absolutely. If any of the drivers are listening into the live broadcast, I know a few drivers who do that occasionally. Save the replay. Have a look at what Joyner and Rivera are doing, and maybe you'll be able to learn a bit something extra from them too. But for the moment, Rivera is, he's creeping up behind Joyner, but he knows as well as anyone, you don't actually get the job done by going for every single pass that presents itself. It's often best to wait for a clear opportunity. The long straight is coming.
These 15-minute races absolutely fly by, Reese, especially when you're in the car racing. So I know when you're on track, it's easy for us to say up here, to take your time, but on track, it feels like you're running out of time constantly as that clock keeps ticking. So I do expect some eagerness in these 15 minutes heat races throughout the evening.
Here comes Rivera. Look at the momentum that he carries. That is a clear demonstration of how strong the slipstream is in the Spec Racer Ford. And Ian Joyner saw that coming from a mile away and lifted to get back behind him. He knows now that at the start of this lap, he will have the advantage. Now, a lap around here takes about 1 minute and 50 seconds or so. And they cross the start-finish line with about 1 minute and 53 seconds to go in the race. So, we're not going to call it just yet, but this is probably the start of the penultimate lap of the race. It's time to really get your eye in. It's crunch time. Rob Campbell, meanwhile, is making his way up to 14th place. It's been another great gain here from Mr. Campbell, started 21st. So he's another one to profit greatly from the chaos of race 1.
Now, I know Rob always races pink cars, Reese, but I have to say that it is awfully suspiciously close to the Iron Dames pink. So I want to say he may be a fan of the Iron Dames as well, paying a little homage back home to the girls' team.
Yeah, indeed. I'm sure we got a lot of Iron Dames fans out there. Excuse me, speaking of. Chloe Charpentier, is now staring down the barrel of Kane Halliburton's weapon, and he is going to get past her here, but not without a bit of contact on the way through. That was a bit close there, Kane. Just adds another little scrape to the ever more damaged bodywork of Charpentier. Looks like she got some rear-end contact earlier. Halliburton up to 9th. Still, Charpentier should be very happy with a provisional top 10 so far.
Last time we clicked on Kane Halliburton, Reese, he was down 3.5 seconds, so he closed that gap up to this next batch of drivers very quickly in just a matter of 2 to 3 minutes. So I expect a lot of pace from him throughout the season here. I know the coaches like to start in the back of the grid, so it's exciting to see them fight through the pack.
Side by side, and it is, my goodness me, the car of Javier Los there, Andre Los and Javier Sobrino in the orange car. They are fighting super hard, and there's contact again, as it looked like Los lost some pace there through the final corner. Halliburton now moves into 7th, which is going to be the invert position for race 2. If Halliburton commits to this, he's going to be starting on pole for the second race.
Looks like Charpentier was able to capitalize and gain a position as well, following Halliburton through there. So Andre Los really struggling with that front end damage race to keep pace with these drivers.
Oh, goodness. I almost had a heart attack there with the momentum that Charpentier was carrying on Javier Sobrino. It is the last lap from what we can see. So it's now down to Ian Joyner and Edwin Rivera to bring us home with a photo finish. These guys have been keeping each other close company all the way through the last 15 minutes. And now it all comes down to this. Joyner is in the box seat for the move into the final chicane. We've got to wait and see if there's going to be any kind of defense here from Edwin Rivera. How hard is he going to make the job here for Ian Joyner? Already, he's weaving to try and break the draft. Whether or not that actually works depends on who you ask, but he is definitely sticking as far to the right as he could on the way down the straight. He is staying middle of the road. He's forcing Ian Joyner to pick a side, and left is the choice for Ian Joyner. Last of the late breakers into the final chicane, and they give each other just enough room. Oh, wow, big slide, drag race to the line. Ian Joyner gets it done, coming out of the final corner and wins the first race at Montreal. What a fantastic start to the season. Goodness me, Visser's car, hang on a minute. Is he heavily damaged? Oh, it is now, says Zippy in the background. Yeah, he was weaving quite a bit there on the run up to the line as the top 10 is sorted out. Halliburton finishes in P7 with Sobrino, Charpentier, and Los rounding that battle out. Now there's more cars to come across the line. Mark Schmerder is going to lead us away with Stephen Saunders in the battle for 18th place. Behind him, Philippe Masson is finishing at 21st place. And then we have a few drivers who are all on their own with more than a second in front and behind to the next cars. And ultimately, it looks like we ended up... Oh, wow. Neil England, the last running car on track at the moment. That is a very sick-looking machine.
Reese, that finish from Ian Joyner and Edwin Rivera was a highlight for the ages. That is going to be made famous with clips all over. That was an incredible finish by those guys. Well done by Rivera to keep his car straight and get across the line. And looks like Ian Joyner was here to capitalize. Just a little bit of difference in pace and grip on the exit there with that incident.
It's interesting because, like, that moment of contact there, Joyner tapped the rear end of Rivera, and then as Rivera slid, Joyner also made contact with the front end, which straightened Rivera out. So at the very least, they were both able to get across the line without much issue. And you know, those guys have been racing against each other in the Almeida Racing League for quite a few seasons now. They're well and truly familiar with each other, and I'm sure that's going to be a little chuckle between them at the end of the night's action. Well, it looks like Mako Marinovic is the last car still circulating at the moment, a long way behind, and one of the drivers who got involved in that unfortunate pile-up out of the final corner. He will make his way through the final chicane without incident, stays well off those white raised anti-cut curbs, and gets his own little moment in the sun as he finishes 31st. Actually, make that 30th, it seems, with... no, 31st. My timing was flipping around a little bit there in the end. So Ian Joyner winning by 3.5 tenths over Edwin Rivera, with Gabriel Ardigo coming home in third and winning the club class. Martin Visser and Kevin Adrian round out your top 5, with Philip Falcon, Javier Sobrino, Chloe Charpentier, and Andre Los, with James Conrad rounding out your top 10. It looks like Kane Halliburton disqualified himself himself just before the session went official, so that means that Sobrino is going to be your pole sitter for the second race. Everyone behind P7 is starting exactly there. So, yeah, Charpentier, Lawson, Conrad running at your top 10, then Jeremy Childers, Gutman, Meesters, Arnio, Campbell, Adam Bray, Steve Saunders, Mark Schmerder, Zoltan Zomotor, and Philippe Masson rounding out your top 20. And, well, we can switch on a little bit over to the rest of the field there. Theophanopoulos and Strelec, 21st and 22nd, with Sabinyas, Howard. Halliburton, in the end, is going to be starting in 25th for the second race, with Zdenek Hamak and Neil England, the last finishers on the lead lap. Brandon Priest, Jacques Coetzee, and Brian Torres rounding out your top 30 there. And finally, the last few cars to take to this next grid. In 31st, Mako Marinovic, Adam Mika, and Domenico Sayu. We didn't see Peter Streefas or Douglas Tom make the start of the previous race, so we can safely assume they won't be on the grid for this one. But this is a big opportunity, Morgan, for Javier Sobrino. He fought his way from 14th through to 7th for race 1, and now he gets the golden opportunity of starting from pole.
Yeah, Reese, what do you think the capability of these drivers placed 3rd through 7th in the last split that are kind of inverting grid in front of those two lead drivers to hold back Rivera and Joyner?
Well, it's going to be a tough job. I mean, I wouldn't want to be in their position, to be honest with you, because you know, I've been in the position many times when I've been racing where I've benefited from a grid invert. And I always look a bit further down the standings and I'm like, okay, he's starting all the way back there. I'm going to have to think about my defensive lines already, you know, with the kind of pace difference you can sometimes see when we have a field invert. There's a lot of potential for chaos. So I just hope that all these drivers have their eyes on stalks here and are looking out all around them for any chaos that emerges.
There's some fast drivers in between Sobrino and Rivera and Joyner as well, so they're going to have to fend with Ardigo up in P5. So I think they have some work to do before they get up to the lead pack, but hopefully everyone can drive safe and have a good start to the race again and really get after it for the next heat.
Yeah, absolutely. So Sobrino and Philip Falcon are your front row for this one, as the grid timer is now over. We are going for another 15-minute race here before the 20-minute final, the sprint race format for this season. If you've been watching Almeida Racing League here on Pit Road Productions and Suelio Almeida's channel, you'll be well familiar with this format by now, just with the random invert thrown in for good measure. We do have a couple of endurance rounds coming soon for the season. I believe 40-minute single races for those endurance rounds, unless Zippy has some extra information that I'm not privy to. But Watkins Glen and Road America will be those endurance rounds, and they are very heavy on the slipstream. They're two of the fastest tracks on iRacing, so that'll be interesting.
How important, Reese, do you think warming up the tires by swerving and maybe the brakes by doing some, stop go? How important do you think that is? Maybe even in Spec Racer Forward is a better question.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can read hundreds of pages on the forums of people debating whether or not it actually works. Sometimes I think it's a psychological benefit, but a psychological benefit is better than no benefit at all. And very early out of there is, Philip Falcon. Okay, that's completely messed up the start for everyone behind. The green flag flies, and it looks like Philip Falcon is immediately going to be hit by an iRacing black flag and chaos on the start as Edwin Rivera has to take to the grass to avoid, my lord, Kevin Adrian occupies second place over under Javier Sobrino, and Philip Falcon is falling down the order now. It looks like he got on the power a bit too early. He was expecting Sobrino to go earlier than that.
Yeah, unfortunate series of events for him, but it looks like Rivera was able to capitalize, gained a good number of spots, already up in P3 and contending with that lead pack.
Wow. What an interesting start. Martin Visa stays in 6th place, but you can already see the top of the field starting to compress. Philip Falcon going wide there and letting the 18 of Ian Joyner through. There's been chaos at the back. I'm seeing a few drivers falling down the order. Bodywork flying again. And it looks like Kane Halliburton, our coach, has been involved with that. Joined down low by Mikhail Sabinias, Mako Marinovic, Jacques Kurtzer, and Brandon Priest. What on earth happened here? On board with Halliburton. Oh, he got hit from behind. Interesting.
Oh, tough. You can really see that damage come into play with the iRacing and the Spec Racer 4. It's very sensitive to any of the contacts from other vehicles.
Into the hairpin they come. Yanis Theophanopoulos makes up 2 positions. It looks like that's Brian Torres that went straight on at the hairpin. And here come the drivers who were involved in that crash. And I think that's the first time I've ever seen the actual chassis of the Spec Racer Ford underneath the bodywork. Sabinias is going to have to come into the pits to prepare that. There will be no straight line speed for him. Sabrino, meanwhile, has just gone deep at the final chicane, and we got a car in the wall. My lord, what on earth is going on? Everything's getting worse up there. It looks like Chloe Charpentier is the one that found the wall at the final chicane, and Edwin Rivera has moved back to the lead. Sabrino has fallen to 4th, and we have Gabriel Aldigo and Ian Joyner now occupying your top 3. So, yeah, Chloe Charpentier not having a great time in race 2 here. Dead last.
Only took a matter of a couple laps as we're on board with Charpentier here. Looks like she enters. May have tried to, alter some inputs there with the minor incidents happening in front of her and ended up paying the price for it. But looks like she got away with no major damage on the car, and she seems to be doing okay here, back on track.
You can't say the same for Kevin Adrian, though. He was that second car that found the wall just after Charpentier did. So that's far from ideal. All of this has given Edwin Rivera a huge lead at the moment, nearly 4 seconds. James Conrad finds himself in P6, meanwhile, after starting this one in 10th. The field is completely muddled at the moment. There is only one clear beneficiary out of all of this, and that is Edwin Rivera. I guess you could throw Ian Joyner in there too, because he's moved up to 2nd, not too far off where he finished in race 1. But unfortunately, he's not going to get the opportunity to fight with Rivera. He's going to have to worry about Ardigo behind.
Yeah, Ardigo having another great race in this heat as well. Javier Sabrino, did lose a couple spots between the race start and now, but overall may have just, ultimately let a couple faster cars by and is having a good, safe start as well. So we'll see if those two can keep up with Ian Joyner and maybe even reconnect with Rivera as the race develops.
Yeah, he's hoping. Rivera setting a 1 minute 57.8 on the previous lap, down to a 151.6, and that is a whole second faster than what Ian Joyner could manage on that previous lap. So Joyner needs to find something special to get that gap up. Jeremy Childers, meanwhile, trying to get into 8th spot. He's got quite a show ahead of him. Ilari Arnio and Andre Loss side by side on their way through there. We apologize for the brief black screen. But I tell you what, we have quite an incredible race continuing on here. It's frankly crazy the amount of chaos that we've seen, but we've seen Rivera and Joyner rise above it. The battle for 8th is going to continue, and they're all catching up to the likes of Jeremy Childers, James Conrad, and Andre Loss. It looks like Loss has got some damage to his front end as well. There is a long train of cars that is moving back from Andre Loss and Adam Bray. So it looks like we're going to be seeing plenty more to come in this race, Morgan.
Yeah, Laurie Arnio as well in P6 did have a incident in the first race, but he is up 8 positions, one of the top gained positions here in the top 10 drivers. So having a better heat too. Hopefully he can keep his car safe for the next 10 to 12 minutes here. And Jonathan Gutman in front of him from Israel as well is up 7 positions as well. So both of them having a good race in the mid-pack, and I expect some good racing out of them as well.
Indeed. We do apologize. We've had a bit of a technical issue behind the scenes. We're working to bring you those live pictures back as soon as possible, but we'll keep up the race commentary as best we can here. Adam Bray, I have noticed, has fallen down the order again, and this time he has completely lost the front end of his car. We do have some feed coming back here. So Edwin Rivera, we see up in the front of the field. We do apologize for the brief interruption, but we are back in the session as we are at the moment. And seeing a few guys jump into the pits there, it looks like, whoa, my God, Ilariano! Big spin into the chicane there. The first of the chicanes that we come to here at Montreal. Very easy to lose the rear end.
I should have never said anything about Arnaud Reese, unfortunately. Had another incident in this heat, but I know a lot of cars made their way past him as well. These guys driving in quick succession in a line, you know, bumper to bumper. So unfortunately, any incident for any driver, they end up losing quite a number of spots here in the mid-pack.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to begin to think about some of the gains and losses that we've seen over the course of this race. The battle for 18th, meanwhile, this is the view back from Domenico Sayu, and he has, whoop, that's Colton Howard jumping into view ever so briefly there, trying around the outside, and Domenico has to take to the runoff. Careful on the re-entry. Oh, dearie me, Michael Sabinias, despite not having a front end on that car, benefited greatly from that.
It does seem like even without the front bib, they can hang on the straights with some proper slipstream, Reese. So that is very interesting.
Yeah, indeed. Slipstream strong enough that even with that front bodywork missing, you can still get some good pace out of this thing. Fighting going on up for 11th and 12th as well. Philippe Masson is up ahead here of Zdenek Hamak and Mark Schmerder. And they sort themselves out in the braking zone, but the Wall of Champions claims another victim, just about. Hamak, looks like, well, it doesn't seem he's gotten all that much damage from that, just lost a bit of momentum out of the corner from that, but I suppose the story will be told once he turns in for turn one, and, yeah, looks like it's okay for the moment. Schmerder unable to take advantage, but I'm sure he'll be on the attack as soon as he can be. In the midst of all of this, while we were having that technical interruption, Adam Mika and Zoltan Zomotor, they have raced each other in previous seasons as well. I think they know exactly how much room to give each other. That was a very nice move from Mika. But we missed Ian Joyner falling to 4th place. It looks like Ardigo and Sabrino have both overtaken him for the podium positions. And now I see no sign of Ardigo up ahead. So he is about 5 seconds ahead of these two at the moment.
Yeah, it looks like Sabrino's under some serious pressure from Ian Joyner. Not sure what happened to Ian, but looks like his car is in good shape, and he's putting some pressure on the driver in P3, Sabrino, right now. So I think Ian is going to push and hopefully get the spot back and get another podium in this race.
Yeah, we'll see. Look at the move up the inside there from Andre Loss on James Conrad. Jeremy Childers says, run away. I don't want to be a part of this. And side by side all the way down the straight. Up ahead, meanwhile, Ian Joyner in the slipstream of Javier Sabrino. And he'll have the inside line for the final chicane. Gives a little bit of extra space, then moves to the racing line and assumes the position on the podium. The new fastest lap of the race just in from Edwin Rivera, 1 minute 50.85. I'm already thinking that Edwin is championship material in this car. I know it's only the first round, it's too early to really talk about anything with finality, but Rivera is clearly quite the pacey guy in these cars.
Yeah, with that best lap setting a 150.8, that's all gas, no brakes in these cars, Reese. So he's definitely setting the bar high for the rest of the season. Like we said earlier, before these heats kicked off, it is a dynamic track list, though. So we'll see. I do think some racers are going to be able to shine at different tracks, so it's going to be interesting to see as we stick with these guys throughout the season.
Yeah, agreed. Here's Philippe Masson, who's found his way into the top 10. He's got Hamak and Falcon up ahead of him. Philip Falcon trying his best to hold on to something in this race. Remember, he started P2, and unfortunately, messed up the rolling start a little bit. So he's been trying to fight his way back all race long. Is there anything that he can do here? Is there anything that Masson can do? As entering the scene is Stephen Saunders. A little bit of contact, and round he goes on Philippe Masson, who now has Jonathan Gutman and Mark Schmurder for close company. And Adam Mika and Zoltan Zomator have just caught onto the slipstream as well. Every time there's an incident, it seems like there's 5 more cars ready to take advantage of it.
Yeah, very tight racing here in the mid-pack. How important do you think it is, Reese, to to have these cars going single and 2 wide every other corner as far as the lap times go? I do think maybe some of these drivers could potentially have more pace if they got organized, got in line, and were around some drivers in the lead pack as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that assessment, but it seems the drivers aren't willing to listen. Oh, don't try 3 wide into the final corner, guys. Oh, lordy, Jonathan Gutman just finding his way through there, and Adam Mika is the big loser out of that one. He falls to the back of the pack and into 15th place. Oh, man, I'm looking forward to a moment to catch our breath here. It is non-stop action the whole way around, and it's an absolute pleasure for us to bring all of this to you. Great action here from Montreal. Chloe Charpentier, remember the last time we looked at her, she was down in 32nd place. Well, there's been enough chaos, and she's been able to make enough moves that she is back into the top 20.
Yeah, it looks like she's chasing down Domenico in front of her as well. So great recovery drive from this driver, Charpentier, and I think a couple more spots to gain here in the last few minutes.
Yes, looks like potential 2 positions to be had here. Mikhail Sabiniaz and the number 26, no front bodywork on that car. There's a move that Charpentier can do. And, she is being followed by Carlton Howard and Martin Visser, the trio of... it seems spec racer Fords who want to be open wheelers. It seems they missed the F4. They missed the F3. So, well, they'll do what they can to get their open wheeler on even when they're racing sports cars. Trade for position between Visser and Howard for 21st.
Honestly, I'm just laughing a little bit. It is funny to see 3 cars in a row with no bib.
Ooh. Oh, my lord. Oh, what? Okay. So that was Sabiniaz in the green car, I think, that came through there and ended up getting into Domenico Sayu. So that was a free position there for Chloe Charpentier. This is Sabiniaz's view. Charpentier got into the back of Sayu just a little bit. And then Sabiniaz, the car just failed to turn. I think he was on the brakes way too late. And unfortunately has to go wide at the hairpin. So now Charpentier's up to 18th. Let's move up to the battle for 5th. Jeremy Childers has got Andre Loss and James Conrad for company. Defensive for Jeremy. And it's been a good run up the field for him. He started in 11th and now sits in the top 5. But how much of a fight is he going to get from Loss?
Andre Lowe's had a great pass on James Conrad earlier before diving down the inside, so we'll see what kind of work he can put in on Javier Sobrino here in the last couple laps. Sobrino's still hanging on to P4 from taking pole on the race start with the inverted grid, so he's having a good race as well, but he is under a lot of pressure here from the 2 drivers behind him.
Solid pressure indeed, and well, we've only got 40 seconds left on the race timer with Edwin Rivera approaching the final chicane now. I think we might be just on the verge of getting an extra lap here. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about slipstream and all that a little bit earlier, Morgan, and I think you're right. The slipstream doesn't mean much if you're battling so hard with everyone around you. Rivera, it looks like, is going to cross the line with just a few seconds remaining on the timer. 3 seconds to be exact. We are going to go another lap.
Yeah, Reese, when I started racing in the service, it was a little bit of a learning curve to figure out the session time and the laps. I wasn't, too keen on racing before I started in the iRacing service, so learning that it wasn't always just about lap count, and you may need to calculate your fuel for that extra lap if maybe that lead driver beats it by just a second or two around, crossing the line before the clock turns.
Yeah, indeed. It's a skill worth learning. Well, the final lap has begun, and we caught Andre Los losing a few positions out of the last corner, clipped the wall of champions once again. Chloe Charpentier has Martin Visser for company. Visser, despite his fantastic pace, has been unable to really take advantage of it in this second race. Started 5th, finished 4th, and then started 4th again for race 2, and has no front bodywork for his troubles. Jonathan Gutman heading the battle for 13th place. Got Adam Mika trying to pressure him here in the number 31. And Adam Mika, when we first started broadcasting this series back when they were using the BMW M2, Mika was one of the drivers who was consistently fighting his way up the top. He's waiting for that similar kind of result in the Spec Racer Ford, but he moves his way into the 13th position, and that will work things out very nicely indeed. So here we go for the last lap. Four-way battle here behind Jonathan Gutman and Adam Mika. Move for Zoltan Zomator. He gets past Ilariano, and Gutman runs wide in the hairpin, but he's going to have the slipstream from all three of these guys. Up the front, meanwhile, Edwin Rivera's just crossed the line and won race 2. Fantastic job indeed from the number 3. Ardigo finishes in 2nd place, and Ian Joyner just crossed the line in 3rd. So now oh dear, Andre Los and Zdenek Hamak together in the last corner, and that's a spin for Los, and it's going to give Hamak 8th place out of that one. Mark Schmerder, the next driver to find his way past Andre Los, and gets a free top 10 for his troubles. My lord, what on earth? That's Zomator that somehow caught the wall there out of the final corner. 3 wide for these guys through the final chicane, and when you're the guy in the middle, it's difficult to get it done. But that was a bizarre incident. It looked like he almost rode up the rear wheels of the car in front.
Yeah, Reese, I find with iRacing sometimes when the car in the back makes contact with the rear bumper of the car in front of them, I'm not sure what the physics calculation is, but you can consider it lifting the front end of the car up and losing grip, and unfortunately the rear end tends to come around very quickly when that happens. So pretty common in the iRacing service, unfortunately, with the physics engine for the car in the back, but overall not a bad finish for most of the drivers in the grid.
Yeah, indeed. There were plenty of big gainers, and it looks like the biggest of them, or among the biggest of them, was Zdenek Hamak, who started 26th and finishes in 8th. Fantastic job from him. As we wait for the last couple of cars to come across the line, it looks like Adam Bray is going to be the last driver to finish, with Adam Mika being the hard charger with 19 positions gained. He started from 32nd and finishes lucky 13th in this race. Let's go through the results then before we take a little break in the warm-up. So Rivera making good on his threats in race 1. He wins race 2 from Ardigo and Joyner, with Sabrino having a consistent race to finish in 4th. Jeremy Childers gets into the top 5, with James Conrad making his way up into 6th from 10th. Philip Falcon losing from the front row start. Zdenek Hamak from 26th to 8th. Stephen Saunders and Mark Schmerder round out your top 10, and the rest of them, Andre Los losing out in the final couple of corners, with Philippe Masson finishing in 12th, Adam Mika 13th, hard charger, with Ilariano 14th, then Gutman, England, Charpentier, Sayu, Zomator, and Visser rounding out your top 20. From there, we had Mikhail Sabinyaz, one of the many cars that lost their front bodywork in this race. Carlton Howard finishes behind him in 22nd. Rich Meesters finishes 23rd. Brandon Priest 24th. Then Marinovic, Kurtze, Adam Bray, Mario Strelek, Torres, Theophanopoulos rounding out your top 30. Then it looks like that's retirement territory, including Adrian Campbell, Halliburton as well. 33 cars taking to that field, and not all of them were able to get to the end. Well, we're in the 5-minute warm-up between races 2 and 3. That means we can take an opportunity for a breath and a drink of water and hand the floor to Swellio.
If you're a racing driver and you want to reach an advanced level, there's a faster and easier way to become competitive. I've gone from this to this in 5 years. Now, we've created the perfect free driver development guide to help you understand the right order of racing skills to develop if you want to become a competitive driver as quickly as possible. This guide was made after 3,000 hours of combined high-level coaching.
Well, thank you very much to Suelio Almeida and the crew at the Almeida Racing Academy for bringing us on board here to broadcast the Almeida Racing League for the last few seasons. It has been a great run, and we're certainly looking forward to seeing how the Spec Racer Ford goes going forward here. This is a very interesting choice for a first round track, Morgan. It's rather difficult to find your way around on a first lap, and I have to say, we have gotten quite a bit of carnage in the first couple of races, but I think that's to be expected. It's a new car for a lot of these drivers. It's their first time really racing it properly against others, and I'm sure if there are any kinks, they'll be ironed out as the season goes on.
Yeah, as you said, late in Heat 2, with Adam Mika usually being the top driver in the BMW M2, it's really exciting to see Almeida continue to put these guys in different cars and continue to learn new skill sets. So it's nice to see the grid mixed up here in Spec Racer Ford, and I think a lot of these drivers are going to continue learning throughout the season. And drivers are driving around and competing against is going to continue to change race to race as the season develops.
Yeah, I think consistency is key. I mean, it goes without saying, consistency is key in any racing championship, but I think the form that we have seen demonstrated from the top drivers in this field really sets things up for the rest of the season going forward. You know, Rivera and Joyner both on the podium in both races so far. And actually, we can throw Ardigo in there as well, because he's podiumed in both races so far as well. We've seen a lot of new faces coming in. We've seen a few old faces exit. We got quite used to seeing Leon Bentvelsen out on track and his family supporting him in the stream chat, but unfortunately he doesn't seem to be here this season. Hope you come back soon, Leon. But Rivera, Ardigo and Joyner jumping out to me as the drivers to watch so far.
Yeah, one of the best things about league racing, Reese, is really the opportunity of the drivers behind those lead guys to have those faster drivers around them and continue to learn as the season develops. So I know it's the case with every league, but especially with Almeida Academy and the close community these guys keep, I think there'll be a lot of learning from everyone behind those lead three that you mentioned. And there's always a lot to learn, and I find one of the best ways is once you join the session, jump right to the fastest driver and, kind of watch what he's doing and, get a bearing for the track under the lead driver's notion and kind of see what he's about and where he's finding the speed. And then, of course, it's always going to be a mix of, what you see and how you learn, and then, what you already bring to the table and how you drive. So you got to kind of find how that's going to mix in with your own skill set and then continue on from there.
Yeah, for sure. A lot is involved in making preparations for a championship like this, and it looks like we're about to flip on over to the third and final race. 20 minutes on the cards for this one. Worth pointing out as well, Rich Meesters has been a former Almeida Racing League competitor, and he's been moved to top split this season. He's still looking for a good result. So let's see how he goes here. With Edwin Rivera starting on the front row with Gabriel Ardigo, Ian Joyner and Javier Sabrino will be your second row, with Childers and Conrad rounding out your top six. Philip Falcon out of seventh alongside Zdenek Hamak, with Steve Saunders and Mark Schmerder rounding out your top 10. Andre Loss and Philippe Masson will be your top 12. And then further on back, we have Adam Mika trying to build up his momentum from race 2. Ilariano will start 14th. And Jonathan Gutman, rounding out your top 15, joined on the 8th row by Neil England. Chloe Charpentier in 17th, then Sayu and Zomator with Visser rounding out your top 20. Mikhail Savinias, Carlton Howard, they're looking for a bit more out of this one. They finished outside the top 20 in both races so far. Rich Meesters has to make a recovery from a poor result in race 2. Brandon Priest, he started 9th for race 1 and has been battling hard all the way through to get a bit better there. Marinovic, Coetzee, Bray, Strelec, Torres, Theophanopoulos, Adrian, Campbell, and Halliburton will be the rest of your grid, but it looks like Rob Campbell isn't taking to the grid for this one. There's been some dramas at the back of the field, though. It looks like a few cars stopped. They've just managed to get going. It was around the Kane Halliburton area that something happened there. I don't know if we'll have time to grab a replay before the race officially gets started, but we'll endeavour to find out in due course. Hopefully they'll be able to get themselves sorted by the time the rest of the field is to the final couple of corners, already getting one retirement out of that little schmozzle, whatever it was. But now it's time for the race start, and an extra 5 minutes can make all the difference for some of these drivers. Edwin Rivera will see if he can take 2 from 3 tonight, or if Ian Joyner or Gabriel Ardigo can grab a win in this first round remains to be seen. Away goes Rivera, the green flag flies, and we are away for the final race of the night at Montreal, round 1 of season 5 of the Almeida Racing League. Joyner already on the back of Ardigo as they make their way into turn 1. He's taking it nice and easy. The field fans out on their way to turn 1. There's a beautiful blimp shot there. Joyner having to protect from Javier Sobrino. Philip Falcon already making up 1 position. Jonathan Gutman up 2, and we have Rich Meesters up 4 with Miko Marinovic also joining him there. Halliburton's motoring his way up the field right now, further towards the back, as everybody tries their best to negotiate these tight chicanes that define this circuit. Already got a few drivers who have made minor mistakes, and Chloe Charpentier starting from the pits. So that's not going to be ideal for her. Potentially, she'll make up some positions through crashes, because we already have plenty of them tonight. We'll see if there's going to be more. But Rivera has not broken away from the rest of the field. In fact, the top 4 have decided it's time to build a gap.
Looks like these top 4 are checking out a little bit, Reese. I do think it's going to be, kind of a tale of 2 races here, that lead pack and, the rest of the drivers behind them. I am eager to see if Sobrino can keep pace with those lead 3 drivers for the full 20 minutes. I wasn't able to really keep up with him in the first two heat races to see if his lap times were up to par, but hopefully with some slipstream he can stay involved.
Oh, goodness. Mark Schmerder, James Conrad, both involved there at the hairpin, and Conrad has to flick spin it around. Schmerder, meanwhile, gets back going. I think he might have lost his rear bodywork there. If not, very heavily damaged. Rich Meesters is already making his way up into the top 16. James Conrad retires from the race, and Rich Meesters gets into the top 15 there, but immediately involved in a crash. Looks like Neil England, one of the cars involved there, and Mark Schmerder's also falling down the order again as well. My lord, what on earth just went on there?
It's pretty early in the race, Reese, to have the front bibs of these cars missing, but it looks like if you hit him with the purse, the front bibs goes flying.
Oh. So that's what happened to Kane Halliburton. And was that Mikhail Sabinios that made contact with him there in the green car? I'm not entirely sure. But high-speed contact, far from ideal. Meanwhile, yeah, oh, wow. Yeah, big slide, big spin. It can all go oh so wrong with ever so slight contact at VMAX. Neil England all the way at the back at the moment. He, Chloe Charpentier, and Carlton Howard are struggling a little bit back there. But we're back up to the battle for the front. Edwin Rivera has gapped Gabriel Ardigo, managed to get a great exit from the hairpin, and it looked like a little bit of side-by-side action. I think Rivera might have squeezed Ardigo to the inside of this corner they're coming up to now on the previous lap. So Ian Joyner is now having a look at Edwin Rivera jetting away, as he did in race 2, and he's probably thinking, man, I need to be on the attack here. I need to make sure that we stay in touch with him.
Looks like Sobrino and Ardigo are going to give him a run for his money this race, Reese. He was in front of Sobrino last time we checked in, so Joyner definitely has his work cut out for him this race.
Slight defense from Ardigo there on the way into the chicane. Jonathan Gutman has had a good start here with 6 places gained. For the moment, though, looks like the Hard Charger award is shared by 2 cars, first of which is a part of this battle. Mako Marinovic is in 13th place. He has gained 12 spots. So is Kevin Adrian, down in 19th at the moment. We also have Brandon Priest up 10 places. So they're the big gainers here. Seeing that Mario Strelec has unfortunately fallen out of the running order. I think there might be technical issues for him. It looks like they're going about this race a little bit calmer than they had in races 1 and 2. Morgan, sometimes a little bit of extra time in the race sort of resets your brain a little bit. It is still very much a sprint race, but you can back off a little bit. You can afford to take your time with moves, but evidently no one's told Mikhail Sabiniaz that. He is right in the midst of this fight here for 19th, and Meisters is up ahead with no front bodywork.
I think a good number of the drivers between the first couple heat races did have some minor incidents. I know a lot of cars were driving without front bibs at some point, so I think a lot of lessons were learned in the first 2 races, and they may be, making some safer decisions, deciding maybe some passing zones are a little more peculiar than initially thought.
Yeah, it can sometimes seem like you can go for a big move at Montreal, but it's very misleading. It's a difficult circuit to get the hang of, and I've commentated quite a few supercars races here, and there's been equal amounts of chaos. That's Saunders that spun around there at the hairpin, and Gutman. No, Steve Saunders and Brian Torres, the other car involved there. I think Torres might have come up on Saunders as he tried to flick spin his car around. Far from ideal for him. Sabiniaz, meanwhile, 20th place with Jacques Coetzee alongside him. Both of them have heavy damage to the front of their cars, probably not helping their straight line speed any. And Sabiniaz backing out a little bit into the final chicane there. Doesn't want to be the one who spins him around, but he might lose a position here. Ilariano trying to make a recovery.
Larnio looks like had another tough start to the race, down 6 positions, but looks like he is in okay shape and still getting around the track. So we'll see if he can capitalize and maybe get a better finish here in what you call the final race here.
Adam Mika, the next to have a problem, and looks like he caught the curb and then got tapped from behind, unfortunately. So round he went already with heavy damage. He managed to get back going, but he'll probably start dropping like a stone if he can't get the pace up. Andre Loss, meanwhile, has a great front row seat to that move from Philip Falcon, who tries to get past Jeremy Childers, but Childers fights back on the exit of the chicane there. And Andre Loss will probably be thinking, hey, it's all coming up me at the moment. Those two are involved with each other. I can focus on my own lines for the moment, but all it takes is one mistake and he's right back into the fold. Brandon Priest, 10th place for the moment, getting it done on Jonathan Gutman. Gutman's still up 4 places, but Brandon Priest has now made it up 14, which is very impressive indeed.
Looks like on board with Gutman here, even with front end damage, does manage to have some pace in the slipstream, so that is important to note for the rest of the season here, that these cars can take a little bit of damage and still hang on track.
Oh my God, coming together behind. That's Marinovic, Zomotor as well, who have had a huge coming together just behind Brandon Priest and Jonathan Gutman. And this is something that we've seen before. All it takes is a little bit of side-by-side contact, and both cars end up with a huge disadvantage. The damage could have been worse, I will say that.
It does look like they managed to get away with that one. Marinovic was one of our hard chargers, still up 6 positions, but definitely lost a handful of spots there as the grid was coming through.
Izzy and Joyner, meanwhile, still looking to get back onto the podium. Gabriel Ardigo has started to drive away from Sobrino and Joyner. And Ian's playing this very safe at the moment, I have to say. He's been sitting in that 4th place for a while now, and I think he's just trying to pick his move. There's enough of a gap that he could potentially slip in between Ardigo and Sobrino, but for the moment, It looks like he's playing the long game. We've still got 11 minutes left in this race.
Yeah, the last lap for P2, 3, and 4 here are 51.5s through 51.6s. I do think Ian Joyner has a few more tenths on that lap time to come down. So I do think you may be right. Him, maybe making a choice here to stay behind Sabrino and maybe just fight for the podium spot later on in the race.
Yeah, any points that you can get are equally as valuable in the first round of a season. There's plenty more rounds to come, plenty more races in those rounds as well. 11 weeks of racing here for the Almeida Racing League, and now Joyner's going to make the move up the inside of turn 1, and it looks like Sabrino is going to let him have it for the moment. Now, Joyner just needs to stay within the slipstream of Ardigo, and he'll be able to potentially help his way to second if everything goes well. But, just keeping an eye on all of the goings-on around here, Adam Mika he's fallen down a little bit, unfortunately. He is down 5 positions now as he tries his best to keep Mako Marinovic behind him, now down 6 places. Hasn't been an ideal race 3 for Mika, but I look at the lap times for all of these drivers, the best lap times, and we have Edwin Rivera with a 1 minute 50.9. The next closest is probably Zdenek Hamak, actually, who's really come on strong in this race. It looks like Hamak is actually joining the fight for second place between Ardigo, Joyner, and Sabrino, so worth keeping an eye out for him. Kevin Adrian, on the other hand, is the hard charger thus far. It crashed out of race 2 and has made his way back 19 positions so far in race 3. Very well done.
Yeah, speaking of best lap times, Brandon Priest also in P10 up 14 positions with his best lap being a 51.1. So keeping pace with that lead pack as well in P10.
Yeah, solid job. But yeah, Zdenek Hamak now catching a little bit of slipstream off the back of Javier Sabrino. And this could very well be a 4-way fight for P2. Meanwhile, Andre Loss and Philip Falcon in the 2 yellow cars, too involved with each other to realize that here comes Jeremy Childers, and that's going to be one freebie right there for Jeremy. And, well, he's not going to get the opportunity to get another one. Brandon Priest and Philippe Masson behind them, all having a fun time, except for probably Masson. Looks like he might have cut the final chicane and gotten himself a slowdown. He really lifted off on the way into turn 1. Okay, he's still clearing it. Still clearing the slowdown. That's rough.
Yeah, that is a brutal slowdown race. Unfortunately, iRacing, I find, can be very strict on some corners and more lenient than expected on some others. So, unfortunate series event for Masson there as he starts to fall down the grid.
For sure. Okay, so Brandon Priest now finds himself at the back of this pack. Brandon is up 15 places, another real hard charger in this final race. He's got a front row seat to the action as, okay, Philip Falcon on the brakes early. I think he might have had a slowdown to clear himself. So that will... Oh, well, hang on a minute. Is he trying to fight back already? There's some interesting behavior going on from a few of these cars, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. Regardless, Brandon Priest is having a nice time at the moment. He could be looking at a top 6 if everything goes his way.
Yeah, Brandon Priest picked up the slipstream, and last time around the track did set the fastest lap of the race at a 50.745. So a lot.
Oh, that's Ian Joyner making his way past Gabriel Ardigo to get into second place, and Ardigo getting a little biffo on the way through. So we see the move happen here. Joyner trying around the outside of the final chicane, and it looks like Ardigo caught the curb a little bit. That's really hurt his exit, and that's going to bring him right back into touch with Sabrino there. But Ian Joyner finally makes his way into second place with 6.5 minutes remaining. And now Brandon Priest has a couple more positions that he's staring down the barrel of. Jeremy Childers up next in car 07 there. But No move thus far for Priest.
Looks like Brandon Priest just put a couple tires on the grass there. That's really capitalizing on, knowing where the bounds of the track are and some seat time. So that would maybe lend a tip to his fast lap times, maybe really knowing the track limits. But there it is. There's the slowdown, unfortunately.
Oh, no. Oh, that's disastrous there for Brandon Priest. And Philip Falcon will duly move past him there. But is he going to try and protect the position? It looks like he won't. Falcon let him go. Meanwhile, looks like a black flag has been issued by iRacing for Steve Saunders there. I'm not entirely sure what the reason for it is, but there's only really one way you can get a black flag around here without exceeding the instant limit, and that is not clearing a slowdown in time.
Yeah, I've known Steve Saunders for quite a while, actually. I've raced with him in a couple other leagues and in some other cars, so it's good to see him representing his high pre-race team out here on track. He always does his best to come out on track and be as safe as possible, so I doubt it was anything intentional, and an unfortunate series of events and a tough end to his main event here.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of drivers who'll be coming out of this round with a lot of lessons to be learned and a lot of reflections to be had, thinking about what they could have done differently in many of the situations that have evolved around here. Martin Visser is trying to make some recovery there. Falcon almost getting into the back of him there. Philip Falcon, for the eventful race he's had, I'm surprised his car still looks clean, frankly. He's done a very good job keeping it damage-free. Andre Loss, meanwhile, at the front of this fight. This is for 6th place, and he's got Jeremy Childers for company. Brandon Priest still trying to find his way past, and that's amazing. We saw Priest get a slowdown and fall all the way back from these guys just a lap ago. He is right on the back of them again, and he gets some momentum out of the chicane there, and he has to lift out just a tiny bit. He'll pick up the slipstream. He'll try for a move, potentially, or will he? Is he going to stay behind? Oh, where do you go? Oh, this is... Oh, man, my heart almost leaping into my throat there. Priest wisely staying behind, but he gets into the back of Jeremy Childers there, and Andre Loss says bye-bye.
If these guys aren't careful, Reese, they're going to have a mistake made, and Martin Visser's here to capitalize on this battle right now.
Yeah, this is well placed from Martin Visser. Very good job. The door opens to the inside, but the tighter exit is a little bit slower at that hairpin, and so Priest is able to make the move, and Philip Falcon also able to move past Visser as well. Yeah, Priest, I think maybe just staying a little bit too close to cars sometimes. It's all well and good trying to go for a fight and be there right in your opponent's mirrors the whole time, but sometimes it is good to just give them a couple of car lengths. It gives you the space to react if something happens in front of you.
Brandon Priest with a great brake zone there into that chicane. It looks like that's where a lot of this lap time difference is coming from, is these major brake zones with these Spec Racer Ford cars.
These cars don't have anti-lock brakes, they don't have traction control either, so they are well and truly raw to drive. Visser, we saw those cars in profile. Look at this. He's basically got a snub nose on that thing at the moment. He's had some pretty heavy contact to the front. That can't be helping his straight line speed, but fortunately, he has enough slipstream that he's able to stay in touch.
Yeah, I do believe he was able to, catch up and gather some slipstream as these guys battled too. So it's good to see the Spec Racer Ford can hang in there with a little bit of damage, as I said earlier. That's exciting to see, and it will keep these guys involved in the races as the season develops with no fast repair in the pits.
Yeah, keeping it clean is the name of the game, and aside from that little bit of contact we saw from them earlier, these two on screen have been doing a good job of keeping it clean. Joyner and Ardigo still trying to keep Edwin Rivera in their sights, but basically every lap, Rivera has been extending that gap. It now sits at 5.4 seconds, which is frankly crazy. Edwin Rivera seems to be on another level as long as he can get out of slipstream range. Little bit early on the brakes for Ardigo, following Joyner through, and with a minute and 23 seconds on the clock, it looks like that's the start of the final lap now for Edwin Rivera and also for these two battling for the last spots on the podium.
Ardigo with a very consistent evening tonight. Great start to his season here for Spec Racer Ford in Almeida. I do expect to have some more good results moving forward, but we're eager to see if the consistency, as you know, that's going to be the main thing throughout the length of a season this long.
Okay, a little bit of drama here in the battle just outside the top 10. Martin Visser comes together with Philip Falcon. And Falcon doesn't have many other places to go than into the runoff area, so it won't be ideal for him. Ultimately, that has granted Kevin Adrian yet another position. He's made it 20 places up. What a run it has been from this number 22.
Representing Canada with the red car as well. I know he even has the red driver suit, the full getup. So it's good to see connecting that with his nationality as well, and taking some rep out for Canada. I did see a little.
Oh no!
Oh!
Okay, that's big drama there. Philip Falcon getting contact from behind from the number 31. Oh dear, that was Adamika that got into him, and they both come to a stop. And then Falcon, I think, reverses just in time for Chloe Charpentier to arrive on the scene. And how's the avoidance there from... Was that Mistus? Gotta wonder. We'll try and find out. But oh my God, what horrid luck it was there for the machine of Charpentier. But in the midst of all that, it looks like it was a completely different part of the track in a different car. So it looks like it wasn't Meesters. In any case, the race has finished while we were looking at that replay, and Edwin Rivera has taken his second win of the night. 4 wide across the line for those guys. We'll give Edwin Rivera his dues here and watch his crossing of the line here, Morgan. Just an unstoppable force in these last 2 races.
Yeah, keeping his focus for all 20 minutes of that race. Getting to the front in a hurry, just took a matter of a couple laps to make his way back from P7. So great race from him.
And it looks like Ian Joyner and Gabriel Ardigo battled side by side into the final corner. Ardigo was ahead on the way in, but Ian Joyner, with a mammoth exit, managed to just get him at the line. What a finish this is. Only 0.04 of a second in it between our 2 battlers for the runner-up position. Ian Joyner more than earned that.
If this is how the rest of the racing in the season is going to be, Reese, I hope to be a part of some of it. Some great racing tonight and some very exciting finishes in every single heat.
Absolutely. I'm seeing Gabriel Ardigo saying in the InSim text chat to Ian, that was great. He really enjoyed that fight, and I'm sure Ian Joyner did as well. We certainly enjoyed the racing here, and yeah, I'm looking forward to this season. It's going to be so fantastic. I've been waiting so long to commentate a Spec Racer Ford League, and I think it's great that the Almeida Academy has gone with this car for this season. It's going to be amazing. Let's go through these final results then. Edwin Rivera, 6.8 seconds in the end. Can anyone topple him, the early runaway leader of this season after the first round is complete? Joyner and Ardigo, they both finished on the podium with Rivera in all 3 races tonight. Brilliant consistency from all of them. Zdenek Hamak, meanwhile, making his way up to 4th place. Don't forget, he started race 2 in 26th place. So his total rise through the field in those last 2 races is something to behold. Javier Sobrino rounds out your top 5 with Brandon Priest starting 24th and finishing in 6th. A brilliant gain of positions there from him. Looks like 18 overall. Philippe Masson, Andre Loss, Martin Vista, and Jeremy Childers round out your top 10. And then Kevin Adrian with 20 positions gained. The hardest charger of them all. Rich Mistos and Zoltan Zomator finishing 12th and 13th, with Mako Marinovic and Brian Torres rounding out your top 15. We have Domenico Sayu, Neil England, Ilari Arnio, Jonathan Gutman, and Mario Strelec rounding out the top 20. A few big gains, a few big losers there for a lot of them. Stephen Saunders down 12 positions after his incident, unfortunately. Could have been a great night for him, a great race 3. Jacques Coetzee will bring it home in 22nd, up 4 places, with Philip Falcon and Chloe Charpentier coming together there in spectacular fashion on the final lap of the race. And ultimately having to settle for 23rd and 24th, the first of our long retirements list for this one. Adam Mika down there with Sabiniars, Bray, Howard, Schmerder, Conrad, Halliburton, and then we had Theophanopoulos and Campbell not taking to the start of the final race. So, wow. Massive, massive runs for everyone here today, but it looks like we have Ian Joyner in the interview landing area ready to join us now. Welcome, Ian. What a first round. You were right in the thick of the battles the whole way through.
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. It was a lot of fun. It was fun to be towards the sharp end of it, mostly, except for, well, as close as I could get to Edwin anyway. Yeah, it's a great first race. Didn't have his pace, and then once I was out the draft, was just fighting for the last couple of podium spots after that. But it was good fun. It's kind of a nice car track combo. Yeah, not super easy to overtake, but the draft's obviously a massive help as well. Difficult track, but yeah, great opener to the series, I think. Huge
yeah,
race.
I'm certainly in agreement with you there, Ian. A fantastic first round. Yeah, you're right about the slipstream as well. It just seemed that once Rivera was able to get a gap, all it took was a little bit of side-by-side from you guys chasing him, and that was it.
Yeah, I think the second race was just sort of difficult because of the reverse grid, and he just did a better job getting up to the front. And then the second one, it's just a shame Gabriel lost the rear end on that hairpin, which just sort of killed both our momentum. And then had to jump, well, someone had to give up going into the chicane because we didn't want to go 3 wide. But at that point, Gabriel he just never quite managed to close the gap, and then it really was just down to us 3 for second then. But yeah, would have loved to have. I could fight with Edwin if I had draft, but I didn't have the pace to close the gap, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure. But regardless, coming out of this first round, you still got first blood. You got the first win of the season. So it's certainly a great way to kick things off for you. And yeah, hopefully the form continues at the second round.
Yeah, I think off to Tsukuba, which will be. I really enjoy that track. It's going to be a bit mad having 30 plus SRFs going around there, but I think it's a brilliant track with slow cars. So yeah, definitely look forward to that. I think it's obviously a bit easier to drive than this, so I think the pace will probably close up a little bit for everyone. Yeah, and the racing should be tight. Hopefully we'll survive.
Hopefully. Thanks for joining us, Ian. See you next week.
Thanks, guys.
Ian Joyner there, finishing on the podium in all 3 races. He took the first win. The second 2 wins of the day went to Edwin Rivera, who joins us now. Edwin, despite this being a fixed setup, it looks like you adapted to that setup very well.
Yeah, it actually drove pretty good, and the conditions, the weather was definitely favorable.
Yeah, very favorable conditions here in virtual Canada. It seemed like you were a bit lonely up the front in races 2 and 3. So let's wind the clock back to race 1 just for a moment. You and Ian, it seems, 2 of the top drivers in this particular category. And it was just a pleasure watching that fight between you. I mean, I suppose you both come from leagues that prioritize that kind of clean racing, so it must have been great to share the track with Ian and be able to put on a great show like that.
Yeah, that was pretty good battles. He was actually saying it's not good to go side by side in the chicane, but we made it work twice. Little bump at the end there, but it's good racing.
Certainly is. Are you expecting more of the same at Tsukuba, a much more cramped track? Ian said he was looking forward to it. What about you?
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I mean, it's a shorter track. Definitely, if there's the same amount of cars, there's going to be a lot of traffic to deal with too. So we'll see. It should be fun.
Certainly should. Well, big thanks for joining us, mate. We really appreciate you coming in for a chat. Congratulations on the double win tonight. Looks like you're going to be the championship leader coming out of this first round.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Well, Edwin Rivera on top, king of the Spec Racer Ford for the moment. We have got a lot of racing yet to come this season. So, Morgan, I think it's going to be it's going to be an interesting season. Are we going to see anyone emerge as time goes on out of the chaos out of this first round?
I do think Tsukuba is going to be a good tell next week to see if these lead drivers are going to be sticking to the front of the pack for the races throughout the season. Tsukuba is one of my personal favorites. I'm a big fan of most of the Japanese tracks, so it's going to be an exciting week next week.
It certainly is. This time next week, you will be seeing us go racing at Tsukuba, and well, we want to thank you all for tuning into this. Make sure that you subscribe to Pit Road Productions on YouTube as well. We do a bunch of different series, not just Almeida. So it'll be great to have you along for more of our shows. Meanwhile, for the moment, we can have a brief chat with the driver who finished third, second, and third tonight. Gabriel Ardigo joins us here, all the way from Brazil. Excellent job in the racing today, Gabriel. You were right in the thick of it with Ian and Edwin there.
Yeah, man, I wasn't expecting that pace, and I'm really happy with the battles we had. Once those two guys on race one, they worked together and they just opened a huge gap. But I'm pretty happy with the race we got at the last one with Ian there. Really nice.
Yeah, it was a really impressive, clean battling that I saw from all of you guys. So congratulations on that. I'm sure the stewards are going to be very happy with that as well. But moving forward, I suppose looking at the overlays, it seems you were put into the club class as opposed to Premier. But it looks like you got Premier pace. Are you expecting an upgrade?
I don't know, man. I'm not even sure exactly how that was split. I'm happy to be fighting at the top positions. I think the pit party and the training we did this week really helped also.
Yes, of course. The Almeida Racing Academy does those pit parties, and it's a great opportunity to learn side-by-side battling. Well, hopefully those battles will continue for you, Gabriel, and you're right up there with Ian and Edwin and company as we move forward through the season. Congratulations on the result, and hopefully we're chatting to you again next week.
Thank you. Hopefully, see you next week.
Awesome job from Gabriel Ardigo in this first round of the season. It looks like that's going to be our opportunity to round things off, Morgan. Your thoughts coming out of this first round, going into Tsukuba next week? Good overtaking opportunities at that circuit, but the straights might not be long enough for that slipstream.
Yeah, I think Tsukuba is going to have some incidents as well with the tight cornering. I do think some passes are going to have to be had in the corners, so do expect some chaos around that tight of a track. For this week, I do think Montreal did lend towards some better racing than anticipated with the Spec Racer Ford, so it was very exciting to see these guys. And as you just heard in the interviews, these guys come prepared with plenty of practice under their belt with Almeida and the community there. So it's good to see them always show up prepared, and I think we're going to have good racing throughout the rest of the season, and I'm very excited.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us for this first round of the Almeida Racing League Season 5. Of course, same time next week is going to be round 2 at Tsukuba Circuit. Very different track to Montreal. The drivers are going to be tested for sure. We want to thank all the crew for putting this league on at the Almeida Racing Academy. Podium 1, of course, on the sponsors as well. A big thanks for your support too, and of course to all of you watching out there, whether you've come from Swellio's channel or you've found us on Pit Road Productions. We really appreciate your viewership, and we hope to see you again next week. I'm Reese Gardner, Morgan Smith was alongside me tonight, and Daniel Zippy Salmon was pressing the buttons behind the scenes and bringing you these live pictures. From all of us here at Pit Road Productions, it is bye for now, but certainly not forever. We'll see you next week.
If you're a racing driver and you want to reach an advanced level, there's a faster and easier way to become competitive. I've gone from this to this in 5 years. Now, we've created the perfect free driver development guide to help you understand the right order of racing skills to develop if you want to become a competitive driver as quickly as possible. This guide was made after 3,000 hours of combined high-level coaching.